Hi, I'm Jeffrey Driscoll.
And I'm Jim Kerr.
And welcome to 15 Minutes of Fame. Lots to talk about this week, Jim, especially when it comes to hockey, so let's get right to it. Jim, Edmonton's mayor and Oilers owner Daryl Cates met with Gary Bettman last week. There's been a lot of back and forth over that proposed downtown rink. Sounds like, when they were both in the big city, there was some big city juice flowing through them, and they got some work done.
Yeah. The Cates group dropped the non-compete clause, which was a big thing in the negotiations. They wanted Northlands, the place that currently runs Rexall Place. They wanted them out of the arena concert business. That was a major sticking point, though, because that would probably involve a big buyout. Cates group buying out Northlands. They decided, though, to drop that, so that kind of gave way to some more concessions back and forth. And at the end of the day, they now have something in place that they're going to vote on October 26th. The city also voted to go ahead with buying the land where the rink would sit. And basically that doesn't mean much, just because if the arena doesn't go ahead, that's something they can sell, because it's right on the edge of downtown. So you don't want to read too much into it that way, but there was a deadline looming for that of Halloween. So it looks like that's taken care of, and it looks like there was a bunch of movement on a couple of other fronts, including that non-compete clause. So there's still a lot of kind of cautious optimism and pessimism, I guess, at the same time. But they are moving.
Sorry. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're moving. They're moving ahead. Go ahead.
Cautious optimism aside and everything, there are still 1 or 2 or 100 million reasons why it might not happen, right?
And that's just them. They're still, for all the progress, there's still $100 million between them. They want it to come from the province. There's really been not a whole lot of indication that it will. But Jeff, I don't pretend to understand politics and how these sort of things happen. But there's all sorts of different ways for that money to potentially come. They give money to all kinds of stuff. So I don't know. Personally, I just have a feeling that the city must know that they're likely to get it. Otherwise, I feel like they might not be going ahead like this with some of the other progress they've made. Because at the end of the day, if they have zero idea whether or not they're going to get this $100 million, you'd think it's a lot of effort for potentially nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
And I assume that politicians maybe are a little smarter than that, but I don't know that to be true.
There certainly hasn't been any evidence to show that in the past.
Yeah, well, with our former premier, it sounded like the money was almost a sure thing, but we have a new premier, so that's a whole same party, mind you, but new premier. So they've made a bit of progress, but at the end of the day, there's still a long, long way to go.
There's another big story in the NHL this past week, and that was Arron Asham. He did the go-to-sleep gesture after he KO'd Washington's Jay Beagle in a fight. Did Asham cross the line, or were things completely overblown?
I'm leaning more towards overblown, just because, it's a fighter. He landed one of those haymakers that I think fighters probably go to sleep at night and dream about.
Yeah.
Just the connection, drop your opponent, and if you watch the video again, and I blogged about this, before Beagles even hit the ice, Asham's on his way to the penalty box, and he's doing the gestures with his back to him. It's not like he, watched him hit the ice, saw the blood spurting out of his face, and then went, I don't really think he knew the severity of just how badly he'd knocked him out. Because a lot of times a guy will get dropped to his knees, but, only to his knees.
Yeah.
Jay Beagle was flat out cold. So I think it was overblown, and I think it was heat of the moment kind of thing. Like sometimes that argument's not valid, I don't think. It's just caught up in the emotion. But in something like this, I would say that's a pretty valid argument. And, at the end of the day, if a fighter can celebrate like a good fight, well,
totally.
Should we beat players for celebrating when they score a goal?
Yeah.
But it looked a lot worse than it was, I would say. But I think if he had stood over Jay Beagle and looked at him flat out on the ice with blood pouring out of his face and then did it, then yeah. But I think he didn't realize just how badly he'd knocked him out. And with everyone's all sensitive about head injuries and whether or not fighting should be like somehow this reignited the debate on fighting in hockey. Because it was kind of funny. Bob McKenzie wrote a piece on it, and he said, if an alien was watching the game and said, "Okay, so the NHL is trying to get rid of headshots. Okay, so why was that allowed?"
Yeah.
Oh, and people want a suspension here, not for the headshot, but for the gesture afterwards. Like, nothing really makes sense in the NHL right now. But I think we're talking way overblown.
No,
he even said it himself after that it was a bad move, classless.
Well, exactly, and he apologized for it. I think we should move on, but that apology.
It's the kind of thing you would do.
Yeah, it is. It's the kind of thing I'm a jerk like that. Apologies. Let's move on to a little segment we'd like to call on 50 Minutes of Fame here. Early season stats are stupid. All right.
Yep.
David Legwand led the league in scoring coming into the weekend. In fact, Jim, he was on pace for a blistering 191 points. Weird.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I should have picked up Legwand in the pool.
Absolutely.
191 points.
He's gonna tie up with Gretzky.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's up there. Yeah, and that's only his average. He could well surpass that.
Totally.
What about Craig Anderson, Jeff? The NHL's worst goals against average at .507. After giving up 7 goals on Thursday, he's given up 19 over his first 4 games. That's probably going to continue too.
Yeah, and if I do my math correctly, that's like 447 over 82 games or something like that. That's
something like that. Yeah,
absolutely going to happen. Absolutely. The Edmonton Oilers were off to a pretty decent start, but chances are they'll probably have some, and we know this now after this last win or loss, but probably have some regular wins and losses thrown in over the course of the season, not just shootouts every game. You can't just expect that.
Well, yeah, and what about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 109 goals this season? That's going to be awesome when that happens.
I mean, that's why I got him in first overall in my draft.
Yeah, I mean, I expected it. For a rookie, that's pretty good.
Exactly.
109 goals.
Speaking of the Oilers, though, seriously, how do you think they played so far? Let's start with the goaltending.
Well, the goaltending's been interesting because we've discussed this. We were wondering who was going to get the bulk of the starts, and kind of surprised to see Devin Dubnyk start over Nikolai Habibulin in the first game. A pretty good performance from him. Nikolai Habibulin came in and started the second game. Very good performance from him. Both above 30 saves a night. So I think the goaltending's looking good right now, and that's always going to be a question mark. Whether you're dealing with, Roberto Luongo, who gave up 3 to a rookie, or our 2 guys. But I think so far they both look like they can keep Edmonton in a game.
The defense,
and leave it up to the rest.
Yeah, no, agreed. The defense as well has seemed all right. Especially my boy Andy Sutton, who's quickly becoming Jeff's favorite Oiler TM.
Yeah, and like you say, they're doing all right, and that's also considering that they are missing some. They're missing at least one very key piece, but they've I'd say surprised me a little bit
so far. But how about the kids up front? I mean, you got to talk about them, and
yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, and it was nice to see Ryan Smith get a goal right away there.
And in typical Smitty fashion too.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
It was funny because they showed the last goal he scored for the Oilers, and it was practically the exact same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
from when the puck got to him and when it got into the net, it was just kind of banging and crashing in the crease. So that was great. But also, I thought Taylor Hall's looked like he's a man on a mission so far this year. Everlay's looked good. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, hat trick against Vancouver, scored his first career goal right away in his first game there. I think, and you know what I like about the Nuge is a lot of solid passes, and he seems to see the game very well, but he moves the puck very well, and the goals he has scored have all been kind of hard-working goals, second chances, that sort of thing. And I think to me that's an important trait, especially in a young player, knowing that he might have to get a little dirty to score, and that might be a little Ryan Smith rubbing off on him.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a sad day in sports blog humor this week, Jim. The Orland Curtain blog out of Vancouver closed up shop. What did you think about them? They were funny, that's for darn sure.
They were hilarious, and that's what I personally love. I troll the internet for that kind of stuff, and it's too bad to see them go because even though they were pro Vancouver, they were still actually readable.
Absolutely. We're going to move on to the Gabbies now. These are good and bad by you. Good goes to the Edmonton Eskimos, who despite an up-and-down season, clinched a playoff spot last week with a win over the Rough Riders, and they had another great win again this week. Let's hope they're a little more Edmonton Capitals than they are FC Edmonton.
Both playoff teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
One's champion, one bowed out early. But hey, you're just getting into the playoffs. I usually say that's the hardest part. It's not as hard in the CFL. But,
that's right.
But it's good to see the Eskimos maybe going on a late run here and to clinch the playoff spot. Like, thank God.
Yeah.
I think we've said this a few times already, Jeff, but a good to Montreal Alouettes quarterback, Anthony Calvillo. He surpassed Damon Allen's all-time passing yards mark last week. He's going to have to start making up records pretty soon here to break. Absolutely. I don't know. Most games played with a mustache or something like that.
I like, though, that they stopped the game for him. That was a classy move by Montreal.
I'd be a little ticked to stop the game like that, but
whatever.
There's ample time after or before the next game.
The good goes to the Tampa Bay Lightning, who might just have the coolest post-goal celebration in the league at the St. Pete Times Forum. When they score a goal, there will be actual lightning in the rink. Jim, they have a Tesla coil in there. Coolest thing ever.
Yeah. That might be the coolest thing ever.
Absolutely.
I'd be a little worried if I was up in the cheap seats and had my golf clubs with me.
See, this is why I don't go wearing my my tinfoil hat or my jersey, my Edmonton Oilers jersey made of completely tinfoil.
Yeah, every now and then you take your tinfoil hat off. Not often.
Yeah, not often.
But every now and then.
Exactly.
Let's move to the bad side, Jeff, where Islanders goalie Rick DiPietro is once again injured. He took a Brian Rolston shot off the mask in practice this week and got a concussion. He's in the 6th year of a 15-year deal, much maligned 15-year deal. He's played just 39 games over the last 3 seasons and actually started this season as a backup. So I don't know how long he'll be out. We've seen concussions go from no time off to 9 months off to, beyond. But, man, Brian Rolston can wing the puck. He's one of the few guys that you see lining up for a shootout and taking a slap shot from the high slot regularly.
Oh yeah.
So
no doubt about
that. Have you ever heard a teammate in practice, Jeff?
Probably, but never with a shot. More with like a lazy, check or something.
I did it in Adam, and I feel bad to this day.
Really?
Coming in on a breakaway, I hit my goalie in a part of the body that is very sensitive to a man and a boy. And that's probably a decade or more ago.
And I
still feel bad to this day.
Oh, brutal.
So, sorry, goalie.
Yeah, no kidding. A bad to a guy by the name of Rob Sloan, who placed 3rd in the Kildare Marathon over in Britain. Apparently hopping on a bus to the finish line will land you in some trouble. The guy, which is funny, but the guy who busted him is the guy who actually finished 3rd. So that's hilarious.
That's a Driscoll move right there.
There you
Hopping
go.
on the bus.
I like that. Yeah.
I'd at least take a cab.
Here's my token.
What's worse is that it was the bus that was taking spectators to the finish line.
Oh God.
Like, be a little more.
Is this going to the finishing line? Yeah. I'm gonna get on. Yeah.
Oh, this is my Halloween costume. I'm dressed as a marathon runner.
Exactly.
That's brutal. But finally, a bad to the Chicago Blackhawks, who spelled Winnipeg wrong on the media kit this week. It's not a hard name to spell.
No.
It's not like it's Bufflin or something.
No kidding. At least it wasn't as bad as, I don't know if you remember, in 93, I think, Toronto Blue Jays, they were playing in the States, and they came out with the flag upside down. I don't know if you remember that one. That was classic. We're going to move on to the punchline now. We've got a great one for you this week. Remember, folks, the guy who tried to throw a hot dog at Tiger Woods last week, the Fries.com Open? He says he saw the movie Drive, which doesn't have any hot dogs in it, and decided right then and there that he had to do something courageous and epic in his life.
And so naturally, he threw a hot dog while watching golf. That makes a whole lot of sense.
Sense.
I saw that and thought, wait, am I reading it wrong?
Exactly.
You see a movie about a guy who's a car driver
and you want to throw a hot dog
getaway
at Tiger
car
Woods
or something like that, and so you think, I'm going to take something that involves various meats cooked into a cylinder and throw it at a guy who is a good golfer. It's just, was that a train?
He scores! Listen, folks, that was the horn to tell us that our 15 minutes of fame are up. Join us again next week when we get a whole new 15 minutes of fame. In the meantime, I'm Jeffrey Driscoll.
And I'm Jim Kerr.
Have a good week, folks.